Aloha, mi amigos. Today we will be talking about the brand new 2022 Transition Scout in aluminum. So we're super excited to finally be able to show you. We've had this thing in a box here for a little while, and we were instructed not to show until the release date. Fair. But yeah, this is the brand new 2022 Scout in aluminum. Transition just released these last Tuesday. It was like the September 14th. We're not sure on the actual date. So yeah, Transition just released these. They have the Scout in aluminum and now the Sentinel. Both are in their new styles, the 2021 styles, but now the 2022 frame. So they're updated. They've got updated geometry, which we'll get into, but first we'll talk about the specs, some of my thoughts, and then we'll get into geometry and then a conclusion. And that's how you write a paper, folks. When you're comparing this one to the Carbon, obviously this is gonna have a little bit of cheaper price point. It's gonna be a little less stiff because it's not carbon, and it's also going to be a little bit heavier. That's kind of one of the cons to it, but actually some people really like aluminum bikes. I like aluminum bikes a lot, but I also like carbon bikes. It looks very similar to the Carbon. This is the NX build. They have an NX and a GX build. So this model, which is going to be their entryest level, is $3,800. Yeah, we'll get into some of the specs. So I'll start at the front of the bike. Up in the cockpit, you've got your race face stem, race face bars. The bars are 30 mil rise, so a pretty great rise just to get started on. If somebody doesn't like rise, they're not super high, or if somebody does, they're super high. Just depends on how you see the world. And then it's just a 40 mil stem, so this is perfect. It fits the bike extremely well. They don't throw a really long stem with flat bars on it just because it's aluminum and it's not the most expensive bike in the world. They still give you great components that they would give on the Carbon bike. And then for braking power, they've got code Rs. I like Tram brakes. I like Shimano brakes a little bit better, but Tram brakes are awesome. They work great. And especially somebody learning, they can definitely get used to that modulation. And then you've got your one-up drop post lever, pretty standard for all transitions. The NX shifter, and then they slap some sick Sensus lights that they do on all their bikes. Sensus lights, my favorite grip. Go watch our Sensus video. It's freaking awesome. Since this is a sick company. Going down into suspension, they've got the Fox 36 Rhythm. This is a great fork. 36 mil stanchions are gonna be stiff enough when you want it, plush enough when you don't, or plush enough when you want it also. It's best of both worlds, I guess, you know, for a great price point. Still get the grip dampener so you can lock out the fork, open it up, and Austin's gonna get in this shot. So for wheel set, they did the tried and true Stans Flow wheels. Super strong, a little bit on the heavier side, but they're great aluminum rims. They lace those to Novitec hubs, and Novitec is just a pretty good brand. Hubs, we haven't had really any problems with them. They've been super reliable. The engagement isn't great, and but that's all about the bad things I can say about them. For some grippies for the little shoes on these things, we've got an Assegai up front. And I'm only talking about the front right now, so you guys don't get to know what's in the back yet. I'm going into the middle. They've got the new Fox Float X that's new for 2020. We haven't gotten any testing on that. We're not even able to get ours in that we've ordered in yet. So we will be relying on whoever gets this bike to give us some feedback. We would much appreciate it. Trail Labs, one of the best suspension people in the world, servicing company, just down the street. They haven't gotten a lot of testing on it, but everything we've heard about it, people are super happy. So great to see it on some bikes already. A Transition, just a note, always reroutes their rear brake cable out on exterior. Some people like it, some people don't like it. Personally, I like it. It just makes like taking your brake off or switching new brakes, or if like there's any issues, it makes it super easy instead of internally routing it. But that's just me. I can see both sides of the story. And then for a dropper post, they've got the one-up dropper post. My personal favorite dropper post that you can get. It's just extremely reliable, extremely smooth. You can shim it down to get your exact height you need. And then on top of that, they've got their Anvil Forge seat. Sorry, I had my hand over the name. So far, this is virtually the same bike that you'll find in the NX version of the Carbon. So that's awesome about Transition. They know that riding matters. So you gotta have good parts. You don't wanna have to buy a bike and immediately upgrade all the parts like some other brands. I failed to mention 180 rotors front and rear, plenty of braking power. They've got Trivative Descendant cranks that are 170 millimeters long with a 32 tooth chain ring up front. Yeah, moving to the rear on the drivetrain, NX cassette. It's a little on the heavy side, but hey, nobody complains about that, except you're probably not doing cross-country races on this bike. Just gonna be honest, it's 27.5. Spoiler alert, we haven't gotten into geometry. NX derailleur, chain, cassette, full NX drivetrain. In the rear, it's just a Novotec hub too. Yeah, so my personal thoughts about this bike, I think this is awesome. A lot of boutique bike brands don't even get into the aluminum bikes just because they're boutique. Actually, I don't really know why, but I'm super excited that Transition's getting back into the aluminum game. It really opens a wider variety of their audience, and it also gives people the chance to get a better designed bike for just a little bit more than maybe a bigger box brand bike. So this bike I'm super excited about. I could not keep it contained when they announced that they were coming out with these, and we're glad to finally have our floor model. We will have the Sentinel and more sizing and colors of this. This is the classy black. It also comes in raspberry, and then in the Sentinel they have blue. I'm sure they named the blue something else, but it's blue, and a raw color. So they came out with some sweet colors for these. Personally, the aluminum does not scare me at all. It is a couple pounds heavier than the carbon version, but if you're more oriented for downhill, or you're at a place where downhill is a little more prominent around you, or you just don't care about weight of bikes, then the aluminum makes a lot of sense for you. But yeah, let me get into the geometry, guys. All right, guys, we threw it up on the service stand. I'm gonna go over some geometry specs, and I'm gonna tell you why it's cool that they did that. What? Their head tube angle. This bike is pretty slack with a 64-degree head tube angle, so it's gonna get that wheel out in front of you like we like it over here, and get you going downhill and ripping the berms and shredding gnar. What else matters? Seat tube angle, 72. A little bit steeper in the rear. That's gonna kind of get you up. That's pretty modern geometry. Transition was kind of really the first to do that, and or I'm sorry, they were the first to kind of mess with fork offset, so they're very familiar with geometry and kind of changing how bikes feel and ride. Speaking of fork offset, this one does run with a 37 fork offset, so again, it's going to kind of bring that fork into you, make the bike super snappy and playful. And then this is a size medium. In the medium, there's a 1217 wheelbase. Decently long bike for a medium. But nothing crazy, like not the new Spire that's super long and low. This bike really is for somebody who is wanting a snappy 27.5 that doesn't want a carbon bike and really wants to be able to rip park, some milder trails on park, and also wants to be able to pedal it around, do some enduro stuff. Really get jibby with it. Yeah, and might be balling on a little bit of a tighter budget, or it's just a really big fan of aluminum. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. I love aluminum. This is the new 2022 Transition Scout, folks. Thanks for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe. Thanks, guys. Stay tuned.